paper and you feel like, oh my God, I have already covered most of the questions or something very similar to it? How does it feel when the paper is lengthy, but you still feel that you will be able to answer? Undoubtedly, the paper was lengthy. The motive was to give you questions for smaller marks, which makes you write also a lot. The marks weightage was less, and yes, which makes the paper lengthy. But yes, paper was a good paper, and I'm pretty sure all of you wrote very well. So let's go into the discussion of this paper today. So, moving on to the first question, Mr. VG and Mr. PG were trading in unlisted shares for the last 7 years. They used to borrow funds from each other whenever required for any trade. Within a week's time, they used to refund the money to each other as per circumstances of the case. They were following this practice for the last 5 years. On 25th Jan 25, Mr. PG wants to buy 20,000 shares of an unlisted company at rupees 500 each. But due to insufficiency of funds, he asked Mr. VG for 40 lakhs. Mr. VG transferred 40 lakhs to Mr. PG. After about 3 months, Mr. VG reminded that Mr. PG has not refunded 40 lakhs to him till then. He asked him to pay back his money. Mr. PG told him that he was trying very hard to sell the shares at a reasonable price of 10% more than the price at which he bought these shares, but was unable to do so due to market conditions. He asked VG to sell his shares on his behalf and authorized him to appropriate the amount of loan of 40 lakh out of the sale proceeds. Here, the agent has a personal interest in the property of agency. This is what? Agency coupled with interest, right? This is agency coupled with interest. And when it is agency coupled with interest, it is what? Irrevocable agency. After 15 days, when markets started recovering, PG denied and revoked the authorization by saying that he would sell his shares himself. With reference to the provisions, whether revocation of the said agency, it's irrevocable, was lawful. No, the agency cannot be revoked. Why? Because it's irrevocable agency. So in this case, the agency cannot be revoked. Messrs. GS Famous General Store in NK Market, Delhi got a purchase order of 5 kgs Mamra Badam at 3400 per kg from Mr. PK to deliver at his residence in Rohini. When the delivery boy of Messrs. GS Famous General Store reached at Mr. PK's residence, he found the door locked. When the delivery boy called him on the mobile telephone, he told him to hand over the goods to his neighbor. Now, the moment you will read this, oh, there is one question, goods delivered by mistake to the neighbor. We had this question, quasi contract. Guys, wait. This was not quasi contract. He asked him and he told it, please deliver it to my neighbor. Specific instructions. So this is what? Bailment. Mrs. Shah was unaware of the fact that the Mamra Badam were not belonging to them, mixed the Mamra Badam with California almond. So this is what? Mixing of goods by bailee without consent of kya bailer, right? So if they are separable, he must get it separated and pay for it. If they are not separable, he must pay the reasonable price. When Mr. Shah told her that the Mamra Badam was belonging to PK, she again packed the 5 kgs Mamra Badam and delivered it to PK. This fact came to light when PK returned the packet to the general store by saying it is not up to the quality and he refused to accept the packet. In the above circumstances, what is the remedy available to Mr. PK according to the provisions? Can we say he will get the reasonable price of the goods? Since they are not separable, he'll get the reasonable price of the goods, right? Moving on to the next one. Do you agree that a company is an artificial person? You have to write about the characteristics. Also explain, elucidate means they want you to explain it. Also explain how authorization by Messrs. Beta Limited, a company incorporated under the Companies Act, can be made in case it does not have a common seal. If a company does not have a common seal, the signing must be done by two directors. And if the company has a CS, then it has to be done by one director and one CS, right? Moving forward, A, B, and C are partners in an unregistered firm It's an unregistered firm. Name Messrs. ABC and Associates. Is the suit maintainable in the following cases as per the Indian Contract Act? Give justification. A filed a suit against B who had stolen the goods of the firm. Well, normally we cannot sue each other, but if a person has committed a tort, in that case, he can be sued even if the firm is not registered. So the answer is yes. If a person commits a tort, in that case, we can sue him even if the firm is unregistered. Here, B has committed a tort because he stole the goods. So can we sue him? Yes. A filed a suit against Messrs. ABC and Associates for claiming shares of the assets on its dissolution. That means A wants to sue the firm to get his share. Generally, partners cannot sue each other, but if the firm goes for dissolution, except in the case of dissolution, they can sue. Since it's given here, they are going for dissolution. Can they sue? Yes. M filed a suit against the firm, Messrs. ABC and Associates, for the recovery of 10,000 dues from the firm. M also owed 4,000 to the firm. Firm claimed a set off of 4,000. Can they do so? No. If the firm is unregistered, maximum claim is how much? Rupees 100. So they cannot claim a set off of rupees 4,000. X offered to sell Y a machine for 5 lakh. Y refused to buy it unless the machine is made into a running condition. X agreed. So unless the machine is made into a running condition, so the goods are not in a deliverable state. Correct? X agreed to do the same, but while the machine was being repaired, it was destroyed without the fault of any person. So here we have two things. Here the goods are in a deliverable, not in a deliverable state. Plus, here the agreement is made, but the contract is not yet performed. Right? And the goods are destroyed. So X agreed to do the same, but while the machine was being repaired, it was destroyed without the fault of any person. Here, because the ownership will transfer only after the goods are brought to a deliverable state, can I say X is not, Y is not the owner? X is still the owner of the goods? Yes. So, with reference to the examine whether X can recover the price from Y. No. Why? Because X is the owner. And since the sale never took place, it's very clearly given that I will not buy unless the machine is made into a running condition. So the sale will take place only after the machine is brought to a running condition. Since while it was being brought to the running condition, the machine was destroyed. So the ownership is still with X. So who will bear the loss? X. For the purpose of making uniforms for the employees, VK bought dark blue colored cloth from PK, but did not disclose to PK the purpose of the said purchase. When uniforms were prepared and used by the employees, the cloth was found unfit. However, there were evidence that the cloth was fit for caps and boots. Advise VK whether he is entitled to have any remedy. He did not disclose. If he would have disclosed, it would be what? Quality and fitness for the purpose of the buyer. He did not disclose, so he cannot return the goods back. The whole concept is what? Caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. Can he return the goods back? Will he have any remedies? No remedy at all. Explain memorandum and articles. Also give any three differences between MOA and AOA. MOA, AOA explanation, the definition. Differences: MOA is charter of the company. AOA lays down the internal regulations. MOA defines the relation of company to the outsiders, whereas AOA defines the relation inside. Company must have an MOA, but a company may not have an MOA, and they can just adopt the model articles given in the Act. 5 close friends decided to form an LLP for EduDed LLP for educating poor people as a non-profit. An LLP must always be with a motive to earn profit. If you remember the characteristics, the motive of LLP is always to earn profit. They were Mr. A, Miss non-resident, Mr. B non-resident, Miss C resident, Miss D resident, and Miss E resident. It was decided that Mr. A and Mr. B will be appointed as designated partners. But the concept of designated partners says we must have at least 2 designated partners, of which at least one should be a person resident in India. With reference to the following, whether dead LLP can be formed for the above purpose? No, because the profit motive should be there. And here, because it's a non-profit, it cannot be formed for a non-profit. Whether A and B can be appointed as designated partners in EduDebt LLP. When I talk about designated partners, at least one of them should be a person resident in India. Here, both who have been appointed are non-resident. So no, at least one of them. So at least one Miss B, Miss D, or Miss E have to be the designated partner. Messrs. M&M Associates was registered in 1985 by its three partners, namely X, Y, and Z, as a partnership at will. On the 5th of Jan, Mr. X, being a very senior partner of age 75 years, decided to retire and transfer his shares in the firm to his grandson, Mr. S, who was 17 years old at the time of transfer. Mr. Y and Mr. Z were not interested, but when they came to know S as a minor, they agreed to admit S as a partner. They cannot admit S as a partner. Why? Because S is a minor, and a minor cannot become a partner of the firm. So, as I was saying, since he is 17-year-old, he cannot join the firm as a partner. Mr. Y and Mr. Z were not interested, but when they came to know that S is a minor, they agreed to admit S as a partner. On 5th October, at the time of inspection of books and accounts, Mr. S noticed that the books of accounts were displaying only a small amount as profit despite a huge turnover. When he asked the other partners about this fact, then Y told him that one of the major clients, Mr. T, refused to pay huge amount of fees. S decided to sue Mr. T for the recovery of the fees and sent a notice for the same. Mr. T argued that Mr. S cannot sue him because he was not given notice of remaining a partner on attaining majority. With reference to the provisions, decide whether Mr. X can retire, yes, and introduce S as a partner, no, because he's a minor, and a minor cannot be a partner of the firm. Whether S has a right to inspect the books of accounts, yes. Even a minor has a right to inspect the accounts of the firm, and when he continues as a major to become a partner, he's anyway becoming a partner then he can continue, he has a right to check the books. Whether S has the authority to sue T on non-payment of the fees. When he continues to be a partner, see here what is given is on 5th Jan 22 they wanted to transfer, right? And on 5th October 23, and on this day he was 17 years old. That means on this day he has already become a major. And here he argued that X cannot sue him because he has not given a notice of becoming a partner on attaining majority. That means on attaining majority, he did not give a notice but continued to be the partner of the firm. That means he by default becomes the partner. And when he becomes a partner, does he have a right to sue the third party? Yes. Clear? Mr. RM was engaged in the trading of handloom items with his wife. One of their friends suggested that they should form a private limited company. By corporatizing their business, they could gain better recognition and even explore export opportunities. They established Messrs. RM Private Limited with both as the sole members. They got the work orders on job basis from local artisans, sold their products in the Indian market, and exported them as well. The company also secured a line of credit from the bank amounting to 30 lakhs. Tragically, RM met with an accident and passed away. Now, Mrs. RM was the only member in the private limited company. A family friend suggested including her brother as a member, but she declined. Instead, she decided to convert the private limited company into a one-person company and nominate her brother, AK, who is currently employed in London. Whether RM's decision to convert the private, can she convert? Yes. An OPC cannot be converted into a Section 8 company, but an OPC can be converted into a private or a public company. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I repeat again. A private company can be converted into an OPC. So yes, her choice, her decision is absolutely valid. She can convert her private company into OPC. Whether RM's decision to nominate her brother AK as a nominee is not legally valid. When we talk about nominee, he should be a natural person. Yes. Is he a natural person? Yes. Yes. He should be an Indian citizen as they are Indian. So we are assuming that they are Indian citizens, right? And residency is not mandatory. He may or may not be. So if Mr. AK is an Indian citizen, is it given here that he's an Indian citizen? He's just employed in London anyway, but nothing is given. So if he is an Indian citizen, yes, he can be appointed as a what? Nominee. So if you're not sure, we can just write yes. If he's an Indian citizen, he can. Residency is not important at all. A, B, and C act as co-sureties for a loan of 4 lakh taken by R from XYZ Bank. There are three bonds specifying different liability limits for each surety, such as A's liability is limited to. Please, this is not the ratio. They are just saying this is the maximum amount I am liable for. R defaults. Analyze and determine the amount each co-surety must pay. So if I see 4 lakh and if I divide it between the three, the ratio of division is equal. 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 4 lakh is the highest amount I am liable for. So the amount is equal. The ratio is equal. This is the highest amount. So if the ratio is equal, that means if I divide 4 lakh into 3, it will be something like 1 lakh 33 something. But A is saying I am liable only for 1 lakh. So A will pay 1 lakh. Out of the remaining 3 lakhs, 1 lakh 50 will be divided by B and C each. So B and C will contribute 1 lakh 50,000 each. What will be your answer if the loan amount is 6 lakh instead of 4 lakh? What would be your answer if the loan amount is 6 lakh instead of 4 lakh? If it is 6 lakh, A to anyway 1 lakh. How much is left? 5 lakh. 5 lakh means 2 lakh 50, 2 lakh 50. But we already told I am only liable for 2 lakh. So he will only pay 2 lakh. So the rest 3 lakhs will be paid by C. Correct? With reference to the provisions of the Indian Contract Act, answer the following. Mr. X visited a Cosmo Mega Mall at Nagpur, which has a variety of items for day-to-day use. The mall has a self-service system. When I say self-service system, this is what? Invitation to offer. Right? Mr. X took a basket, picked up 10 different items of his choice, and reached the cashier for payment. The cashier accepted the price of 9 items but did not accept the price of remaining one item, which was at the highest price of 10,050 among the 10 items. Decide as per the provision, can they be compelled to sell the said article to X? No. Invitation to offer, the person is not bound to sell. If he refuses, we cannot compel him to sell. So, no. Mr. AT completed his MTech qualification in April 22. He got married with Miss Priya in November 22. He got an appointment as technical consultant in a very renowned company in US on 2nd Feb 2023. He promised his wife that he would send 30,000 per month for her daily routine expenses. Domestic agreement. If you remember, Balfour versus Balfour. He never sent any money to his wife. Mrs. Priya was not in a position to meet her daily expenses. She was facing severe financial issues regarding rent and other maintenance expenses. On 20th March 24, during her telephonic discussion with Mr. AT, she came to know that he would never send her money. Due to her financial hardships, she decided to file a suit against him for 7,50,000. Whether Mrs. Priya would be able to recover the amount? No. Domestic agreement cannot be enforced in the court of law. For it to be enforceable, it has to be written and registered. Because it's a agreement, cannot be enforced. Negotiable instrument is an instrument which is freely transferable from one person to another by mere delivery or endorsement and delivery. Classify the different types of negotiable instruments in the manner in which it is made. Now, I'm pretty sure you all must have written bill of exchange, promissory note, check, because that would be. But the question comes from this line. And if it is payable by mere delivery or mere endorsement, if the question says something like this, that means it is payable by, it is endorsed, can be endorsed by just negotiated by delivery, or it can be negotiated by by endorsement and delivery. So I am talking about which kind of instrument? Bearer instrument, order instrument, right? So we have to write all that here. Define law and explain the sources of law, constitution, the statutes, laws passed by the statutes, and then you have the principles of natural justice and judicial precedents or common law. Miss S visits an electronics store and asks for a laptop suitable for high-end graphic design work. She has specified the purpose for which she wants the goods. She has specified the purpose for which she wants the goods. The salesman recommends a specific model, assuring her that it will meet her needs. Relying on this advice, S purchases the laptop. However, after using it, she realizes that the laptop lacks the necessary processing power. So, relying on the advice, so she's dependent on the seller. The 3 points, if you remember, relies upon the seller's skill and judgment. And seller deals in those goods. She visited an electronic store. Uh, she she realizes that the laptop lacks the necessary processing power and graphics capability for her work. So, can Miss S take legal action against the seller? Just yes, she can return the goods back because it does not suit her purpose. When the seller has specified the reason of his purchase and depends upon the seller's skill and judgment, and the seller deals in those goods. If he's not able to supply the goods which suit her purpose, can they return the goods back? Yes. Mr. S was going through severe financial hardships. His wife suggested to take a gold loan. Hey, Baba, what's wrong with my pronunciations today? On 15 Jan 25, he pledged his wife's jewelry worth 30 lakhs with one of his friends, Mr. R, and took a loan of 25 lakhs. On 17 Jan 25, he sold total jewelry for 28 lakhs to Messrs. RL Jewelers Pitampura. The jeweler purchased it in good faith without knowing the fact that the jewelry was already pledged. So they have purchased in good faith. After all this, S declared himself insolvent. When R came to know about this, he filed a suit against RL Jewelers. But RL Jewelers, now see here, first of all, the owner of the goods had limited rights to sell the goods. The goods were already pledged to someone else, so his rights to sell were limited. But still, he goes and sells the goods, and the buyer buys in good faith. Now, when the buyer buys in good faith, the buyer gets a valid ownership. So here, RL Jewelers have got a valid ownership. Now, what happens is S becomes insolvent, and so R comes to claim the jewelry. R comes to claim the jewelry from RL. Because RL has purchased the jewelry in good faith, the gold in good faith, they have already got the ownership. So R cannot claim the jewelry from, the gold from them. But yes, can R go and sue S and recover whatever is payable from his property? Yes, but he cannot recover the gold from RL Jewelers. Is it clear to all of you? Yes. Messrs. SR Enterprise is a well known trading firm. AM, a former partner of the firm, had retired but never made any public announcement of his retirement. If a partner retires without giving any public notice, he continues to be liable for the subsequent debts of the firm. In 24, Mr. R, a supplier, entered into business transactions with Messrs. SR Enterprises, believing that was still a partner in the firm. He relied on AM's past association with the firm and extended a credit line to the firm. When Messrs. SR Enterprises defaulted in payment, Mr. R demanded that AM shall also be held liable for the due. AM refused, stating that he was no longer a partner of the firm and no involvement in the firm's affair for a long time. Whether Mr. AM can be held liable. When a partner retires without giving any public notice, for the third party, he continues to be a partner by estoppel or holding out. And he shall be liable for any subsequent debts of the firm till the time public notice is not given. Since here public notice was not given and the third party thinks he's a partner, he will be liable. Messrs. LMP and Associate, a partnership firm engaged in carpet manufacturing and exporting, was initially managed by senior partners LM&P. On 25th August 22, the firm admitted Mr. G, an expert in carpet manufacturing, as a partner. However, on 10 Jan, G was accused of unauthorized activities. He was accused of unauthorized activities and subsequently expelled from the firm with the unanimous approval of the remaining partners. Examine whether action is justified. Now, see here, for action to be justified, we have to have good faith. Good faith needs three things: notice has to be given, opportunity of being heard, and interest of partnership. Interest of partnership, I see, but nothing is given about notice and opportunity of being heard. I cannot write no because I can see partnership interest. But if I only write yes, also not complete. So the best way to write is yes, provided he was served with a notice and given an opportunity of being heard. What are the factors? This is a direct question. The factors: express agreement, majority consent, good faith, and the 3 points of good faith. Okay, true and false. The pledge of document of title to goods by a mercantile agent with the consent of an owner is an invalid pledge. Okay, is it invalid or is it a valid pledge? So, pledge by a mercantile agent, if a mercantile agent has the possession of the goods or the document of title with the consent of the owner, and pledges it to a pony who takes in good faith. The pledge is valid. So this is what? False. This is a valid pledge because all the three conditions are fulfilled. A appoints B as his agent to sell A's land. Subsequently, under the authority of A, B appoints C as his agent. Later on, A revokes the authority of B but not that of C. Consequently, the authority of C cannot be terminated. A is the principal of B and B is the principal of C. If I have removed B, AC will also be automatically removed. So this is false. It can be terminated. The contract of life insurance is not fully very true. वैसे तो definition of indemnity only doesn't cover any insurance. However, in the Supreme Court case, they held that it will be considered. However, life insurance will not be completely covered under contract of indemnity. Mr. K draws a bill of exchange payable 60 days after sight to Mr. J. Mr. J holds the bill for 30 days before presenting it to Mr. N, the drawee, for acceptance. Mr. N accepts the bill upon presentation. Decide as per the provisions of Negotiable Instruments Act, when does the maturity period of the bill commence? See, it is payable after 60 days after sight. After sight means the day I accept. So I will give it, he will accept it. The day he accepts, from this day, 60 days will be counted. A promissory note is made payable at a specific place on a fixed date. The holder presents the note for payment 2 days after the due date because of unforeseen circumstances. When there is a delay in presentment and not because of the fault of any of the party, the delay shall be excused. Decide each of the following. Does the delay in presentation affect the right of Mr. Mohan to recover the amount? No. When the delay can be excused, in that case, the delay will not be, when the delay cannot be given as a reason of the parties, is not due to the reason of the parties, the delay shall be excused. Under what circumstances can a delay be excused? If it is because of the fault of no fault of the parties, or when the drawer himself makes, avoids the presentment, or if it is excused by law. In all of these cases, you don't need to present. Okay, now the next questions are all complete, direct questions. What do you mean by fraud? All the five. Consequences of fraud: voidable, you can cancel or you can accept. If you cancel, you can ask for damages. If you accept, you can ask them to bring you back to the same position you were in. And state the instances in which a contract is not voidable. The consequences, if you remember, if one party had used fraud but the other is not misled, or if the other would have used his diligence, would have come to know the facts, then fraud is not fraud. What is the meaning of the term quantum merited? As much as is earned or as much as is merited. Explain any four cases in which you can claim separable, not separable, or the work was done without an intention, with an intention to be paid for it. That is, it was done non-gratuitously, or when the contract becomes void subsequently, or the person claiming was not at fault. In all of these cases, you can claim. And hire purchase sale differences. You just have to give the differences. So I hope your paper went well. And now you have some free time. Just do whatever you have always wanted to do. Enjoy, watch, binge read. Do whatever you want to do till the results, because then you have to start preparing for the inter. All the best for your results, and hopefully we'll see you soon again, but as inter students. Thank you.